Fairfield, a mosaic shaped by time. 30 kilometers west of Sydney's center. Not very far, but when you arrive here, it feels like stepping into a different world. Fairfield. Strange letters on signs shine in the sunlight, and the smell of spices from every alley draws you in. This place is another heart of Sydney, a complete picture made from pieces of the world. Fairfield, beautiful fields. The name brings to mind the English countryside. In the 1860s, Thomas Ware Smart, son of a former convict shoemaker who later became a treasurer, built a mansion here. He named it Fairfield House after his hometown's Fairfield Manor. One person's nostalgia became the name of a whole area. But the story goes back further. In 1814, 37-year-old Captain John Horsley sailed alone on the Broxbourne to Australia, leaving behind his wife Maria, who was against the move. He arrived in Sydney with Jane, whom he met on the ship, and settled in what is now Liverpool, calling the land Mark Lodge. He worked as a magistrate and coroner, but he wasn't the one who gave the area its lasting name. Thomas Ware Smart's house name eventually became the name for the whole region. Ironically, Thomas never actually lived in Fairfield House. He lived in Darling Point until his death. The Fairfield House he named was not his home, but his ideal, and that ideal became the area's identity. In 1856, a railway station was built in Fairfield, the only stop between Parramatta and Liverpool. It was lucky. This station became one of the oldest railway buildings in New South Wales and still stands today, witnessing history. The timber industry grew along the railway, and the rich soil produced fruits and grains. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, people from Germany, Italy, and Baltic countries came and started farms. They planted familiar things in unfamiliar land, and slowly Fairfield began to take on European colors. The real change came after the war. After World War II, immigrants from devastated Europe and returned soldiers made this their new home. In the 1960s and 70s, Southeast Asian refugees came in large numbers, carrying wounds from the Vietnam War. In the mid to late 1980s, Assyrians fled the Iran-Iraq War and settled in Fairfield. In 2015, the Abbott government issued 12,000 humanitarian visas to people persecuted in the Middle East, including Syria. 11,400 Iraqi and Syrian refugees entered Australia, and half settled in Fairfield and Liverpool. In 2016 alone, Fairfield accepted 3,000 refugees. Today, more than half of Fairfield's residents were born in non-English-speaking countries. The top countries of birth are Iraq, Vietnam, Syria, and China. The main languages spoken are Arabic, Vietnamese, and Chinese. Only 16% speak English as their first language. This is why people call it Little Iraq or Little Assyria. The streets are full of cafes and restaurants serving Assyrian, Iraqi, Chinese, Lebanese, Vietnamese, South American, and Thai food. As they say, China is everywhere, and here too, Chinese influence is present. This afternoon, I got in a car with Hamid, a displaced person from Iraq. Though over 70, he still looks healthy. He was going to Liverpool Hospital for his daughter's appointment. Taking care of parents crosses time and countries. During the short 20-minute journey, he talked about Iraq, which he left over 30 years ago. He said he hasn't been back even once. It's all because of America's greed, he said, firmly. It was his personal view, but his voice carried the weight of years. Because Korea is still a divided country, I could understand his feelings a little. Individuals in groups are often ignored. He said, "Now I can't even picture my hometown clearly, looking out the window at the distant sky." But then he continued, "Still, I'm very satisfied living here in Australia with my children now." His words held the relief that comes from an ordinary life. As his daughter Dana came to meet him and they walked toward the hospital together, somewhere between his lost homeland and his found peace, he seemed to have found his balance. Fairfield has gone beyond just being a name meaning beautiful fields. This is a city where different lives come together to create one community. Pioneer history, immigrant footsteps, and diverse everyday scenes are layered here. Walking the streets feels like quietly reading a city's history. The traces left by time and the stories left by people run side by side, The old railway station building, spice shop signs, menus written in Arabic, steam rising from Vietnamese pho restaurants. Everything gently embraces Fairfield. This is not about beautiful fields. Beauty doesn't come from fields. It comes from people. The landscape created by those who arrived here carrying war and separation, nostalgia and adaptation, loss and hope. A small refuge shaped by time, where pieces of the world came together to complete one mosaic. That is Fairfield.